Well, I could sense it already. So tell me about, what it meant to you to qualify on Monday night.
Oh my gosh. It's, about 36 hours out and I feel like I'm still processing it and it's still sinking in, but it feels like such a dream come true to get to represent our country and the state of Maine and my family and friends at the Olympic stage. It's definitely something I've dreamed of for years now, and it's pretty surreal to actually get to go do that.
When you say you dreamed of it for years, how many years are we talking?
Gosh, you know, I was not one of those kids that dreamt about it since they were in kindergarten. I always dreamt of being a veterinarian and just taking care of tons of animals. So the Olympic dream for me probably started more in high school and college, when I really fell in love with the sport and started having some success with it. And started, yeah, especially in college when I was competing Division 1 and starting to run on more of a national level. Then that's when I kind of started dreaming of going to the Olympics someday.
What was the first thought for you that made you think, hey, this is attainable for me?
Oh,
Or was
gee,
there a moment, like was there a race you won? Was there a nationals or something that you competed in that somebody said, hey, you could go to the Olympics?
yeah, I think I started getting a taste of being able to run at the Olympic level towards the end of college. And when I made the decision to continue competing post college, my first year as a professional, which was 2015, I just missed making the world championship team by zero point zero 0.01 second. So it was heartbreakingly close. Like, it was the first one not to go, and I mean, 0.01 second is like a blink of an eye. So back in 2015, I started really believing that I can make USA championship teams. And unfortunately, it didn't happen for the 2016 Olympics. But ever since 2015 and 2016, I've had my eyes on Tokyo, and it's been a long wait and a lot of work, but it's been really really worth it, and it's cool to see it pay off with an Olympic berth.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit, if you don't mind. I was talking with Chris Lane, right, and he was telling me that I think it was mostly yesterday, right? You were doing the processing for Team USA.
Yes.
What does that? What does that mean? Can you walk me through that as somebody who will never be able to do something like that?
Yes, team processing is an experience. It's a couple hours of filling out forms, your medical history, all of these documents about what to expect when you go over to Tokyo. Which I ran in the World Championships in 2019 and had to do team processing, which it's an extensive process as is, but with COVID and the pandemic, it's there's this whole other protocol and rule book and regimens. So we spent a lot of time in team processing going over all the COVID protocols that we're gonna have to do before going over and while we're there. And the fun stuff really is just getting to know like what to expect when you're there, and getting all the uniform sizing and all the gear and equipment is kind of the most exciting part of team processing. But
You do like photo shoots and stuff?
yeah, photo shoots, media, some media interviews, and yeah, it's a whole event. And I didn't sleep the night after the race, so I was kind of in a daze a little bit through team processing yesterday, but it was exciting.
You got to tell me, if you don't mind, why did you not sleep the night after the race? I'd feel like, one, you're probably exhausted, but two, the adrenaline finally crashes after all this training. So why not sleeping?
You know, it's a fairly common thing for athletes not to sleep the night after. I think it's like you're just so wired probably from the caffeine and the adrenaline, and it takes, yeah, you're just like mind can't slow down. So even though I think I was like physically exhausted and so happy to be laying in bed, I like could not shut my mind off and was just like wide awake.
That's awesome. That's hey, that's one of the best reasons to not sleep. As somebody who has a 14-month-old, that's one of the best reasons to
Oh,
not sleep.
oh my gosh. Yeah.
um,
Only
this is
imagine.
going to be the most obvious question I ask you, I'm sure. What does it mean to you to represent Maine at the Olympics, right? Maine is not exactly known as an athletic powerhouse the way Texas or Florida or Georgia might be, or California. So what does it mean to you to represent Maine at this world stage?
Yeah, I think anyone from Maine feels such a connection to Maine, especially having, lived outside of Maine and traveled outside of Maine for so long now. Whenever I come across a Mainer, it just feels like this like immediate bond of like, oh my gosh, like the state of Maine. And, you grow up and I almost feel like you grow up like having this like shared intimate love for the outdoors and the ocean and the mountains. And so to represent our small but very sweet and very just it's such a beautiful state in so many ways. And Joni Benoit Samuelson is like such I mean anyone from Maine probably knows her name and the Olympics and everything that she's done. And to get to represent our state and to walk in Joni's shoes a little bit it's a huge honor, and it's something I really cherish, and I always can't wait to get back to Maine and spend time there and spend time with the people I love there. So it's a huge privilege to represent Maine.
For sure. I have a couple of questions along that same vein, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So one is, do you still have family here in Sanford?
Oh yes, yeah. No, my parents they live in the same house I was born and grew up in. So
Cool.
yeah,
Very
my
cool.
parents are in Maine, and lots of my close family and friends are in Maine. My fiance's sister and brother-in-law, nephew and niece live in Maine. So actually both my fiance and I have like very intimate connections to Maine with direct relatives and some distant relatives in Maine.
Is your fiance from Maine?
He's from Massachusetts, but
Okay.
his sister moved up there. And then actually his sister and my aunt and my uncle live in the same town in Maine, in York. So
No kidding. Oh my
yeah,
gosh, that's too
yeah,
funny. Um,
yeah.
when let me ask you this: when was the last time you were in Maine?
The holiday. Oh no, that's not true. We both went back for Christmas and New Year's of 2019, and then I also got back right at the end of January of 2020. And that's the last time I've been to Maine, right before the pandemic. So and I actually had not seen either of my brothers for a year and a half since that January of 2020. And they're with me at the trial. So it's the first time I've seen either of my brothers in a year and a half. So I'm like, it was so special having my entire immediate family came to Eugene and got to be a part of the moment. So it's been like the first time we've been reunited since the pandemic, and at some point we're all going back to Maine this year to just be together. So I'm like, can't
What a
wait.
way to be reunited. That's a that's fantastic. I'm so happy to hear that.
Thank you.
All right, when you are in Maine, what's
Yes.
because you were talking about your love for the outdoor, like the shared love for the outdoors. What's your favorite thing to do when you're in the state?
Oh my goodness. So I grew up lifeguarding at Wells Beach. So I think I spent 5 summers being an ocean lifeguard, and especially living in Arizona, which is a landlocked state. My like first thing I do is just go to the ocean, especially Wells, Maine and York, Maine. It's that connection to that specific strip of coast is really special to me. So ocean and some lake time and river time, and then going to hike Mount Major or some of the presidentials, which are more New Hampshire but close enough.
That's so cool. Quick side note: I'm from Massachusetts too, and my parents would bring me to Algonquin Beach like every weekend as a kid. My dad and I would go surfing there. So I'm
Yeah,
like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're talking about Wells in New York. This is
like
great.
neighbors, but
Yes, yes, yes,
oh,
yes.
so cool.